Good evening and welcome to another episode of Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, broadcasting live via SHR Media and High Plains Talk Radio, and of course streaming live on Facebook from lovely, beautiful Cape May, New Jersey, which actually is not lovely or beautiful today. It's actually quite overcast and nasty out. Hi to all you guys loading up in the Facey chat. Hello, hello, hello. I've missed you guys. I've been off the grid for so long. Missed you guys. You rock. Michael, Daryl, Doug, Karen, hi, welcome. I'm sorry for anybody that I missed. My guest today is Larry Lopata, and he is the founder and CEO of Gun Dynamics. He's going to talk to us today about the first ever crowdfunding platform for firearms and firearms products. So I'm really excited about that. Not only because I don't know a whole lot about guns, and any knowledge I can get I'm always excited about having these experts on. And I think the crowdfunding, marrying that with crowdfunding is a really awesome idea. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. Shout out to my boy Josh for hooking us up. I appreciate that very much. Okay. And there's like a ton of stuff in the news, like tons of stuff in the news. I didn't know what to pick. Well, of course, you know, I do my show prep a little earlier in the day, and between the time I did my show prep and actually got on the air, Roseanne Barr got fired for being a racist. Yikes. And unfortunately, I had to listen to Shepard Smith like gleefully report this information, which is really annoying. I don't know why I listened to him on my way home, because he just gives me a headache. But that was sad news, and now her show is canceled. And to be frank, it just lends to more of like that, you know, everyone who likes Trump is a racist situation. And I hate that. I hate from a political perspective. I'm hating that. That's not helpful. Hey, Lisa, Ed, Greg, hello. Yeah, that part's not helpful, but I don't want to stay on that, but that was upsetting to hear. No one likes a racist. Racists are bad. No one as a brown person, I'm not particularly a fan of racism. But yeah, I don't know why she thought she could do that. Anyway, I don't want to focus on that. I said I wasn't going to focus on racism, but my very first story that I wanted to talk about was Starbucks closing their stores this afternoon. Oh, dear Lord. To train 175,000 employees on anti-bias training. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever been subjected to anti-bias or diversity training, but I will tell you that as a brown person, what I tend to hear in those trainings are how weak I am, how I should be a victim, and how I got a raw deal, and how, you know, I just need white people to be so much nicer to me to be effective and to you know, to be successful, which is crap. So you know, I hate that kind of training. If some of you guys who've been following me for a while saw my my reaction to my microaggression training that I got a few weeks ago at work, and that I didn't handle it well, because I told the presenter that I abjectly resented her making me out to be a victim, and other brown people, quite frankly, making me out to be a victim. And a lot of times, I know it means well, but a lot of times that's what these trainings tend to be. And, you know, I was doing a little more research about the about the training, and it was a whole bunch of articles about how, like, these black activists were saying it wasn't enough. Like, it's just a Band-Aid and we need more. Thanks for making us look weaker, because we can't take, you know, one incident. It's just, please, Starbucks. I mean, can you all just stop with that? Stop with that. Nobody's turning the hoses on us. There's just no whites only signs over water fountains anymore. Can you stop, please? You're not helping. Sorry. Sorry. And all these black actors are like, oh, it's a Band-Aid. It's you know, it's not good enough. We know who this really serves, the people who are in charge of the diversity trainers. I don't totally disagree with that, by the way. But I think it's just seriously ridiculous. And I think it is really a form of reverse racism. Like, unless people are much nicer to you and do more for you, you can't succeed. And that's buffoonery. So cut it out. Cut it out, please. Now, what else? The White House is they're waiting to announce some more sanctions against North Korea. I didn't hear about any more today, so I don't, unless they've been announced within like the last 45 minutes or so. I don't think there have been any more. Probably tightening up the tightening up the reins in preparation for the summit that's coming up. I want to make sure that they don't cut up like they did a couple weeks ago talking smack before they end up on the outs again. Ridiculous. But that's happening at the White House today, and I don't know if they ever got to it. I didn't hear any announcements, and unfortunately I missed the presser, which, quite frankly, as some of you all know who've been following me for a while, is kind of my favorite part of the day, to watch like Sarah Sanders just give the smack down to all these reporters. It's just beautiful. If you've never watched a live presser, like if you've only watched the clips, do yourself a favor. If you're home one day, you're homesick or something during the day, and you can catch the presser, catch it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to behold. And those don't feel sorry for those reporters. They are not nice people. At least they're not nice to Sarah. I'm not going to say they're not nice people in general, but they're definitely not nice to Sarah. And she like just hands them their behinds every single day. It's fantastic. I love it. What else we got? Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross is going to meet with, and probably already did today, European Trade Commissioner Cecilia Malmström to talk about the steel and aluminum tariff extensions. This has been going on for a while, and you know, the great negotiator that President Trump is, I'm sure that these discussions are all part of a negotiating tactic. So I'm sure that we will stay tuned and hear more later on about what the results of that meeting were. But Paris, but apparently it's a last ditch effort for the EU to try to get a permanent exemption from the tariffs. I don't know if that's going to happen, and if it does happen, I think President Trump's going to want some things from Angela Merkel before he just lets that happen. I don't think it's going to go smooth sailing just like that. So we'll see what comes out of that meeting. This I didn't like. The FBI has asked anyone with an internet router to reboot in hopes of disrupting a Russian malware attack. Really? This is the same group that attacked the DNC ahead of the 2016 election. And it can block web traffic. This is according to the Department of Justice and the FBI. That's not awesome news. And you know, I have Mike Fitzpatrick on the show, who you all know and love as my resident cybersecurity expert. And the list of things we need to discuss is like super long. I'm just saying, because we're friends and we're kind of in regular contact. And every other day, there's like something new. But he's going to be on next week, and I'm going to put this on the list because that's ridiculous. Come on, guys. That's crazy. Here's the last thing. Intel is under federal investigation for age discrimination. Now, that's interesting. By the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. And this has to do with some 10,000 job cuts that they made in 2016. Apparently, the average age of everyone laid off was 49 years old. Oh, that's right in my neighborhood. Don't feel too comfortable about that. But yeah, apparently that was the case. And so they are getting sued. Stay tuned. We are coming up against the break. There's a brand new Ron Edwards notebook. I'm so excited because I saw the title and I was messaging him earlier. Like I said, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this title. And I look forward to arguing with you about it later. You guys will see what I mean in a minute. Brand new Money Talk Minute, brand new Ron Edwards Notebook coming at you right now. My guest today is Gun Dynamics CEO and founder Larry Lopata. Very excited to have him. We'll be back in a few minutes.
The most powerful man on earth cannot protect himself on social media? Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, we all know how vile and nasty leftist activists, professors, and students can be when they spew their politically charged and Saul Alinsky-inspired philosophical hatred for those of us who like and appreciate this republic. They are no less vicious in their direct attacks against President Trump on social media. So rather than engage such foolishness, the president has blocked those who only attack him and his family with lowbrow name-calling. However, Judge Naomi Reese-Buchwald of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York has ruled that the president does not have the right to block vicious haters because he is the president of the United States of all the people, and that they can say whatever they want, and he has to take it. Well, apparently that judge isn't too bright. The First Amendment recognizes our right of free speech, but that does not mean others are forced to sit and take abusive language if they do not want to hear that. Hopefully the president will ignore that foolish judge and exercise his freedom to block away. I'm Ron Edwards. Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
Ron Edwards, the new voice of America. Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. I'm sorry, I'm still giggling. I am still giggling at Ron Edwards' notebook just now. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but that notebook was hilarious. I cannot wait to talk. If you missed it, you'll have to go back and listen to it. It was about President Trump not being allowed to block people's tweets because of name calling. Really? I'm gonna leave that alone so I can get my guest on. But come on, Ron. Anyway, my guest today is Larry Lopata. He is the founder and CEO of Gun Dynamics, and he's going to talk to us today about the first ever crowdfunding platform for firearms and firearms products. A little bit about my guest. He is an entrepreneurial visionary that has been on the cutting edge of innovative technology for 20 years. Mr. Lopata first started in the firearms industry 5 years ago and has numerous projects currently under development. One of the first projects that Mr. Lopata worked on was the ST-1911, I probably said that wrong, adjustment trigger, because I don't know anything about guns, for the legendary 1911 handgun. From there, he founded Gun Dynamics, a crowdfunding platform which will serve as a catalyst for new gun-related technologies for the firearms community. In the next 12 months, Mr. Lopata will be bringing to market new technologies from long guns to accuracy improvement technologies, all with the intent of enhancing the shooter's experience. That is very exciting. And without further ado, my guest today, Mr. Larry Lopata. How are you?
I'm great, Melanie. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm having fun today.
I can tell.
Ron Edwards is a show host in his own right. He has an entire show called The Ron Edwards Experience, but he does these notebooks every single week. That very first cut that you heard. And I purposely don't, they're always so good, and I purposely don't listen to them until the first time I play it on the show that week. That one was a doozy. I don't know. I thought that one was a doozy. But is there anything that is in your profile that I didn't include that you'd like the audience to know?
No, you did a very thorough job as usual, Melanie. It was great.
Thank you very, very much. So I'm super excited about this whole thing for a number of reasons, Second Amendment being the first one. But let's explain to the audience. Let's start off by explaining what crowdfunding is. I think I've only addressed that on my show maybe twice in the last year. So for some of you, it'll be a refresher. For some of you, this will be brand new information. What exactly is crowdfunding?
Crowdfunding is the ability for any one of us to take an idea that they have and create a prototype around it and then put it on a platform where they have the ability to either raise money or take pre-orders in order to turn that idea into reality. So it is really a new level of the ability for the individual to pursue their American dream, Melanie.
That's excellent. I love that. And it can work. You can do it for pretty much any entrepreneurial pursuit and any legal entrepreneurial.
Yeah, at any level. I mean, you could go there, depending, there are different crowdfunding platforms cater to different specific project goals. So there's some out there that if you just say, hey, I want to make this new product that does X, I have a drawing, I need $30,000 to see if it'll work, you could raise that $30,000 if you market it right on the crowdfunding platform. So it truly is revolutionary.
True. And these crowdfunding platforms are basically housed on websites. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, it's, you know, if you just think of like an eBay or an Amazon, it's this basic platform, and you could submit your ideas, and pending approval, those ideas get promoted, and they have ways of holding the money, and once you reach your goal, releasing the money to you and keeping their percentage of the action.
Exactly. Now, are there any safeguards from a crowdfunding perspective? Like when people are investing in products using the crowdfunding method, are there like vast regulations regarding crowdfunding and how you do it and making sure that the money goes where the crowdfunding, the company that's doing the funding for that project, making sure that's going where it's supposed to go? Like, you would hate to see people invest in a product and then like the product never comes out. You know what I mean?
Well, I think, you know, you run the gambit. Crowdfunding platforms, the big major ones, if you read their terms and conditions policies, you know, are very, very clear that they're offering a place where people can promote campaigns and other people can fund or support the campaign. So they're very clear that they're just the conduit to bring everyone together. And that's, their position is very clearly stated that that's where their liability begins and ends. But, you know, within the promoter of a campaign or creator of a campaign, it's very clearly written out that, you know, you need to have the intent to bring the product to market, to do your best to make sure everyone gets what you promised them. And if not, take actions to make it right. So it depends on the platform. Our platform is very clear. We're trying very hard to make sure that the product is as close to being, you know, pre-production ready, like it's an actual idea. If we're going to do something that's a concept, we're going to be very clear that this is a concept. So, you know, you're taking a risk that this product might never come to be an actual product. But if you're an intelligent, you know, backer, you knowing that going in makes all the difference. I've backed programs where I just thought the ideas were so exceptionally cool that, you know, I almost did just for the T-shirt in some cases.
And some of them offer T-shirts. Is that what you're saying?
Most of them will give some kind of promotional giveaway for gratitude to, backing the project. So the one I backed that I still think it's one of the coolest T-shirts I ever had was a hover bike technology out of England. Very, very cool.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was so cool. But I thought the chances of this guy making it happen was maybe 40%. But I love motorcycles, so I'd love to have a hover bike. So I gave him my $35, and it never came to fruition. But I've got the T-shirt, and I felt good backing something I believed in.
A hover bike?
Yeah, hover motorcycle. It had these two blades in the front, two blades in the back, like right out of Star Wars. You're just flying around.
So like Back to the Future type deal.
More like Star Wars, Return of the Jedi.
Really?
Theaters. Yeah, it was so cool.
It's been a minute since I've been on a crowdfunding website or a crowdfunding platform just to like check it out and look through it. But if you guys Google crowdfunding and look at any of the platforms, there are some really interesting products. And some of them I look at, I'm like, I think we already have that. And so, some of them are really interesting, like the one that you just mentioned. Now, why is it that you felt there was a need for crowdfunding that was firearm specific?
Well, there is a dark side to the crowdfunding community. And that dark side is none of the major crowdfunding sites will take any kind of gun-related technology, Melanie.
Really?
Yes.
Now,
yes, it's quite outrageous, but it's true.
Is that regulatory, or is that just kind of the politically correct taken over kind of thing?
It's the latter. It's personal choice. But with the exceptional success and innovation that crowdfunding brings to the typical person in the United States, if you deny the gun industry the ability for such a platform, it puts the industry at large at a huge disadvantage moving forward 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And we had started, by the way, you said it correctly, the ST1911 adjustable trigger for the 1911 handgun.
Excellent.
We were dreamers. We knew that there was a market for this adjustable trigger to make people better shooters with their 1911, and we had put money into bringing it up to production ready. And we said we're going to launch a crowdfunding campaign. But when we started reading the fine print, we realized we had no place to bring this campaign in the established crowdfunding community. So fortunately, one of our partners was very technically savvy, and we dug a little deeper in our pockets, and we founded Gun Dynamics. And it felt really good, Melanie. I had one of those moments where I felt like my purpose was bigger than it had ever been as a human being. I felt like my partners and I stood up to do something that was right. And it's just been an incredible ride since we launched April 19th of last month.
That's amazing. And listen, that's good old capitalism. Now, have you received any pushback whatsoever in launching this platform? I don't see any constitutional reasons why there would be a problem, but that's never stopped the extreme left gun control crazies from trying.
Yeah, you've already, look, the thing is we're doing something completely legal. We're being, visionaries, entrepreneurs. We love our families. We've gotten a few of those kind of threatening emails and people saying we're child killers and all sorts of things. But you know what? That's one of the things about America and living the dream is you have a right to express your opinion. And we felt that the gun community was being stifled in the crowdfunding space. And we said, no, there needs to be a place to go. And since we've been up literally 5 weeks, we've had over 35 people like ourselves coming to us going, I have this idea for a silencer. I have this idea for a new scope mount, recoil spring, a new, airsoft technology. It's been incredible, Melanie, and meeting these people and having, kind of sharing the stories that we went through with the ST 1911 trigger. I just feel so fortunate that we found a place where these people can come, and over the next 30, 60 days, I think you're going to see some really incredible firearms technology that might have never seen the light of day had we not launched Gun Dynamics.
That's incredible. And listen, now, because I think I told you when we talked right before the show aired that I don't know a whole lot about guns. Whenever I see something, a program that's about guns, I'll usually watch because I really want to learn as much as possible in case I need to put a cap in. Never mind. But, but I'm trying to learn as much as possible and be as knowledgeable as possible about that. And I would think that people would like this idea because, there are innovations. Now, there have been some innovations in the past that are a reality already, such as the finger recognition and things like that. But I've also heard that it's kind of wrought with some issues, some downsides, if you will, because they tend not to be as reliable. At least that was the last research that I did. But I'm feeling that the technology. Marrying technology and firearms, it seems like it would be a good idea, particularly if there's any way possible to make them safer.
Well, you're on a slippery slope as far as the current technology because no one's shown any technology as of yet, Melanie, that people haven't found a way to get around or, basically make failing. So that's where you have to be very, very careful when it comes to smart gun technology. Also, you're in New Jersey, right?
Correct.
Right. So New Jersey currently has a law that says any new smart gun technology that is developed that is for commercial use, the state of New Jersey, every other gun company in the world would have to use that technology or wouldn't be allowed to be sold in the state of New Jersey. So that's a terrible hindrance.
As someone who grew up here, I'm not shocked. I'm just saying, New Jersey's absolutely brutal. They have like an equal force law here. So like if somebody breaks into my spot, I'm supposed to ask him if he has a knife or a gun. Really?
It's incredibly restrictive. And I think it goes counterintuitive to the intent of the Second Amendment, Melanie. I mean, a lot of people don't realize because we're so removed from the founding fathers that they were running away from tyranny, religious tyranny, personal tyranny. They didn't have a right to any land. And if those citizens weren't armed, we wouldn't have had anything to gain our independence with.
That's exactly right. And anytime there are, a government wants to take over a people, the first thing they do is disarm them wisely, because if you want to take over a people and take control of them, that's what you do. The whole point of us having guns is so that doesn't happen. So, it's an extremely frustrating situation, especially with the state laws being what they are. And New Jersey is certainly one of the most frustrating states to have firearms in. I have a long list of complaints about our gun laws. Here in the state of New Jersey, you're also not allowed to have a taser. Like, really? Yeah.
When they talk about, the empowerment of women and weaker people, and here are great equalizers. Here are things where, a woman or a man who works a late shift, who, goes to his or her vehicle late at night, has that sense of security that if a larger person comes at them, they can defend themselves. I mean, this is a functional tool.
Absolutely. My ex-husband used to work nights, and we did practice runs. He's like, if anybody comes in, this is what you do. This is how you use this. This is how you handle this situation. And we would practice like every few months because he worked nights. And that's exactly what he used to call it. Is the equalizer. The gun is an equalizer. I'm not a large woman. I'm not a strong woman, and a gun fixes that situation.
Yes, and we unfortunately live in a world where this is necessary. Unfortunately, I wish we didn't, but we do. And, one of the things that's amazing with Gun Dynamics moving beyond just a crowdfunding platform is we are looking to try to send the message out, invite a new person to the range day. Like, we'd love to have you come up. I don't know how far you are from Connecticut, but you want to learn more about firearms, we'd love to have you come up and take a pistol lesson.
I'm only like six hours, something like that. And I have friends there. So I'm actually not far. Yeah.
So, you're more than welcome to come up, try some of the new technologies. We really are, about having people have a better understanding about firearms and what their purpose is. And when you bring someone who's never fired a firearm to the range, 9 out of 10 of them fall in love with it because it really is an incredible experience. And when you see that the people at the range are people just like you, not these, villainous, anarchist, white supremacists, they're just people.
I thought everyone who owns a gun was a white supremacist. Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. I don't think I've run into one white supremacist at any range I've gone to. I've seen plenty in the movie theaters on the screen and on the news, but I don't see them at the range.
No, I had guns in my house growing up. My daddy had a gun. He was a veteran. No, never. And I'm pretty sure, being a brown person, that my daddy was not a white supremacist. Just.
And then you have people like Condoleezza Rice going, I'm glad we had firearms in the house to protect us.
Absolutely.
It's just mind-boggling when you think about the state of affairs. That here you are saying you want the government to, you trust the government to keep you safe, and yet you have a president that people compare to Adolf Hitler in the White House. It just doesn't seem to add up the right way, Melanie, to me.
For sure. Now, let me ask you, I'm not totally switching topics, but I do have a question. I'm a teacher by vocation, and of course, there have been a lot of school shootings here. Let me rephrase that. There have not been a lot of school shootings in comparison to schools and shootings. But one is too many, let's be honest. Are there any new technologies, at least on your platform right now, that are addressing that at all? That is purely like an interest question. I'm sure some of my audience would be interested in any new technologies that might be on the forefront that would make schools safer. Do you know of any?
Currently, right now, being that we're only 5 weeks out, most of the technologies are innovations within existing firearm platforms or accessories to firearm platforms. I mean, we just launched today a woman's line of conceal and carry vests, so women can comfortably carry their firearm in a nice, stylish vest, so they can go out and look good and still be protected. But when it comes to something like that, Melanie, it's a lot more to do with not just access to firearms, but what's creating the anger to where someone would want to hurt their peers. I mean, my 10-year-old son, when he saw the Parkland tragedy and they were talking about banning, AR-15s, he looked at me and he's like, Dad, if they take away even all the guns in the world, would that boy still want to hurt those classmates? And he says, of course they would. And he said, so that's not really solving the problem, is it? And I'm like, you're right, Sammy. We need to solve the problem. We need to understand why suicide is really the largest killer of teenagers. And secondly, why are there 132,000 kids every day not going to school for fear of bullying? They're all part of it, we need to address the issue as a whole and not just from a gun point of view, because honestly, I grew up in the streets of New York City in the 70s and 80s. If I wanted a firearm, it's not hard to get illegally.
I'm sure about that. We're up against a break, and I have a few more questions I want to ask you, of course. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is Gun Dynamics CEO and founder, Gary? I thought I was going to have a problem with the last name. Let me do that again. My guest today is Gun Dynamics CEO and founder Larry Lopata, and he's talking to us today about the first ever crowdfunding platform for firearms and firearms products. And if you missed the open and are not aware of what crowdfunding is, we talk about that in the beginning of the show. But we're going to go to a break and have a few more questions for Mr. Lopata when we come back in a few minutes.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. I'm one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcast. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting in California, I'm 2 miles from the state capital. The bloviating Zeppelin Preserve Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, government deception, Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network. That's Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Flying Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EVL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's nurturing the feather, because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you a brand new deal here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're gonna chat. We're gonna chat Wednesday night. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie. I am inviting you to the front row seat as I discuss some of the intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truth on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Jew by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
and all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events? All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
And we're back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. And my guest today is Mr. Larry Lopata, and he is talking to us about the first ever crowdfunding platform for firearms and firearms products. I'm excited to talk to you today, and I wanted to delve kind of into the firearms products area. You talked about a vest. There's a vest for, I'm very interested in that too, by the way, a vest so that women can carry and comfortably carry their firearms. Of course, not in the state of New Jersey, because getting a carry license in New Jersey is like finding a leprechaun riding a unicorn. But that's that's a separate issue. But are there any other products on the horizon that are firearms products that are like enhancers to having firearms?
Well, right now, Melanie, we have a campaign for a new type of split slide handgun technology called the Circa. And what it does is, a lot of the biggest problem or issue people have with handguns is muzzle climb and recoil, where they feel that once they discharge around, the gun's going to kick up and hit them in the face. And even if it doesn't hit you in the face, recoil and muzzle climb are one of the main challenges of keeping your firearm, on target. And what this technology does is it actually ergonomically, through the split slide, half the slide goes forward. And when that forward slide hits the front of the frame, it naturally brings the nose of the firearm back down on target, which means it's a smoother cycle. And a cycle means the process of igniting the round to when the firearm is ready to fire the next round. It has a smoother cycle process, which makes it a lot easier to use, which means less training. And when you're in a situation where you feel in danger, you know that fine motor skills are one of the first things to go. So having a firearm that's easier to use and more stable in a dangerous situation just increases your odds of survival exponentially.
That makes a whole lot of sense. I am loving that. That makes now. I want to ask you something as a gun expert, kind of on the regulatory side. Does anybody propose anything about speedier gun checks or anything like even though that's not exactly about the gun? Is that a technology you would entertain? Like right now, the government is talking about universal background checks. Not only when you go to the store, but when you go to gun shows and stuff like that. And actually, just like a side question, how do you feel about that, about universal background checks? And if you don't want to tell me, feel free not to, but I'm just curious from your perspective, how you feel about that.
Well, I think it's a topic in itself, Melanie, and for us to get into a real conversation about it, we could probably go for a few hours.
Sure.
But, if you really look at the natural right to defend yourself, I don't think you need to go any further than that, as well as the rights of the states as individuals. So, if you want to invite me back and go into an in-depth conversation about that, I'd love to. But, really, when it comes to the purposes of this interview, it's really the fact that, beyond just building the platform, the repression of the legal, legitimate gun industry by a lot of private markets and companies has been overwhelming, Melanie.
Yeah.
It's their right to do that. So if you want to get in a discussion, I'd love to come back to your show. But, really, one of the things that's going on is it's been hard enough just for us to find a credit card process. It's been hard enough for us to find an underwriter. We've had companies that didn't want to do T-shirts for us because they were gun related. And I just look at that kind of, scenario, and I say to myself, what other industry is someone like Michael Bloomberg openly going to companies going, don't invest in them, don't give them money? Powerful people, banks starting to say, like Citigroup saying, if you buy an AR-15 and you're under 21, even if it's legal in your state, we're going to find a way to where if you're using our card, we won't let you make that purchase with our card. That is a very slippery slope to me that says, well, if you're going to do it with the firearm industry, which is perfectly legal, what else are you going to dictate to us?
Oh.
What's the next industry? So, yeah, I'd love to have a talk about, background checks and all that, but I feel that there's a bigger situation going on here with tyranny and repression of an industry that, quite honestly, under Barack Obama was one of the main industries that kept American industry going for those, 8 years.
And I completely and 150% agree with you. I saw that on the news not too long ago, where banks were intentionally like not doing business with gun companies, and that is doing an end run around the Constitution, in my opinion. Like, how can you say that you're not going to do business with a certain type of company? Now, I think probably the legal question and the constitutional question is going to be whether or not specific industries are a protected class. And that's probably how they're getting away with it, just off the top of my head.
Well, you have a right to do business with whomever you want to do business with. And that's, once again, part of the liberties of this great nation. But when you start profiling markets or industries, who's next? Right? Look at what Bloomberg did with sodas. I want to have a soda tax in New York. I don't think you should be able to buy a big gulp. I think that should be illegal. Wow.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, that is 150% crazy. It really is.
That's what keeps me up at night. How do the Parkland kids go lay down in a Publix, supermarket? What was it, 2 days ago?
Yes.
2 days ago, and tell the owner of Publix not to fund a pro-NRA gubernatorial candidate.
And the logic is so messed up. That's the whole thing. Like, the logic you can't connect the dots with that logic. And that is part of the whole problem. So we're just going to be like anti-guns. Take all 300 million guns off the street. Really? So the bad guys just have, none of any of that makes sense. It is all, emotion baiting is all they're doing.
You need to come at this, realistically. And emotion just isn't healthy for that, because all you're going to do is you're going to take the firearms away from good guys, and if you ban them all, bad guys are still going to get firearms because it'll go illegal. It'll just go illegal. If there's money to be made, look at the war on drugs. I was around when Nancy Reagan declared war on drugs. Well, how do we deal with that?
Right. It creates a black market automatically. And especially in this situation where there's 300 million guns just in the United States. We can't even keep drugs out of our country.
Those are the legal firearms, Melanie.
Right.
How many ghost guns are out there? How many untraceable firearms are out there? And by the way, a little known fact that not a lot of people talk about, you have a right. You can make your own firearm with no serial number. As long as you keep it for yourself, you can make 1 or 2 a year depending on the state you're in.
Really?
For home protection, yes. And it's out there. It's a federal law. You know how to go do that.
Yeah, well, I bet you can't do it in New Jersey.
Well, there's a big difference between taking it out of your house and having any. I don't know about Jersey. Jersey's like one of those few states. I think you're not. I think it's the only state where you're not allowed to make any gun component.
Oh yeah.
Most states, you need an FFL, a federal firearms license, to make the frame. But if you don't have an FFL, you can make pretty much almost any other part of a firearm, like the hammer, the trigger, the sight. In New Jersey, I don't think you can make any other part.
Oh.
And that's very unique.
Well, that's New Jersey. It should be our motto. Instead of the Garden State, it should be, we're very unique. Somebody in the Facey chat said, please, Mr. Capone, no more Tommy guns. Please turn them all in. I'm sure that would work out really well.
Yeah, that would have worked out really well. Yeah, I guess so. But, it was part of that once we realized we couldn't be on crowdfunding, it was before Parkland, and we all said we need to stand up, we need to do something about this. And then when we saw what happened after Parkland, and look, I feel for those kids. My son went to the sister school of the Sandy Hook, the Newtown tragedy. We were in Newtown during that whole thing. So I was on the front line of a school shooting, and it's terrible. But banning an AR assault rifle would not have stopped that from happening. It just wouldn't have. That boy was out to do harm to that school, unfortunately.
No, I agree with you. We only have a couple of minutes left in the show, so I'd love for you to tell the audience how they can get on your site. I actually posted it in the Facebook chat, and I can go ahead and post it again. But how they, if they would like to look and see what type of products that your platform is crowdfunding right now, and perhaps invest themselves, how would they go about doing that?
Just go to gundynamics.com, and the page will lead you to, I think we have 4 or 5 campaigns up now, and we're probably going to be putting 1 or 2 up every week moving forward. If you have friends who are gun enthusiasts or have been talking about a new type of gun technology or accessory they've wanted to make for a few years or maybe a few decades, they now have a place to go and launch a campaign. We'd love to hear from you. Stand up with us. We're really just good family folk looking to create our own American dream, and we'd love for you to join us.
I absolutely love it. It's a beautiful. That's the beautiful thing about America is you see a gap in the market, and you can go ahead and attack it and fill it without with very a lot of times with very few resources, especially with technology. So I'm stoked that you guys are doing it, and I wish you the best of luck. And I hope you will come back to talk about gun laws and gun regulations and things like that. Just as a resident expert, I'd love to have you come back and talk about that.
We'd love that, Melanie, and we hope you come up and do some shooting with us.
It would be my pleasure. I'm getting there because the world is just getting a little more dangerous every day, and I'm feeling like I need to equalize that situation.
Well, peace of mind.
Indeed. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today, if you missed it, was Larry Lopata, and he is the founder and CEO of Gun Dynamics, which is a crowdfunding source, the first ever for firearms and firearms products. And if you don't know what crowdfunding is, you have to check it out. It's actually really cool. There's all kinds of crowdfunding platforms, but this one is specifically for firearms. So make sure you check it out. I posted it in the Facey link. If you're listening on SHR Media or High Plains Planet Talk Radio, or you're listening to this as a podcast, please go ahead and check that out at gundynamics.com. I want to thank everybody for listening in the Facey chat. Good questions, good comments on SHR Media and High Plains Planet Talk Radio. Thank you guys. If you're listening to this as a download on iTunes or any of the other platforms where the show is, I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much. Remember, all of this is very important because after all, it's your money. Good night.